Well, if you don't know, the Maxx was an underground comic book series and animation on MTV in the 90s. It was dark, subversive, and featured this anti-hero called the Maxx, who exists in both the real world and a bizarre subconscious dimension called the Outback, where he protects his friend, social worker Julie Winters, also called the Jungle Queen, from the villainous serial killer Mr. Gone, all while exploring themes of trauma, identity, and reality. It had a profound influence on me as a kid, watching it late at night, and is the reason I became an animator today. It stayed with me forever, and I decided, you know what, I've learned enough skills in my career up to this point that I could finally, maybe attempt my own take on the Maxx. So here's how I did it. I'm no good at sculpting from scratch, so I kit bashed an incredible Hulk model and some models of the Maxx that were designed for 3D printing. I remeshed and refined in Cinema 4D to make it animation friendly, then got to work rigging it. Now I hate rigging. I can never get the elbows and shoulders to do what I want. His fists would rotate in unnatural ways and I got the arm twists all wrong. I should have added 2 bones to each arm section and not 1. But eventually I got there with some additional facial poses thrown in there for expressions. Then onto my favourite part, painting and texturing. I'm a huge fan of that painted look that started in Spider-Verse, and you see all over animation these days too. This was done in Substance Painter with some very loose brushstrokes and skin effects. The Maxx was pretty easy. He's mostly purple, yellow with some inky details. I let a lot of the generators do the heavy lifting. Top tip, there's a straight up effect layer called Stylize in Substance Painter right here. Add it, mess with the settings, and you get an instant painted look. It's amazing. I use it on everything. Once the Maxx was built and rigged, I used keyframe animation in Cinema 4D to get him moving. I wanted him to feel heavy, sluggish, and depressed at first, and then have him gallop into a more athletic sprint and jump, finally landing in a hero pose. His feet and hands are massive, so I had to compensate for that when he took steps. At certain points I scaled his hands up. Sam Keefe would often exaggerate proportions in his comic strips. I simulated his hair growing as he jumped like all simulations. This took a lot of trial and error. Most of the sequences were rendered at 12 frames per second to get that 2D stepped stop motion look. As for the drunk guy, well, that's me in a mocap suit. I used a Rococo motion capture suit in my office and recorded myself drunk, staggering around and going to the toilet. Unsurprisingly, it came quite naturally to me. His clothes were simulated in Marvelous Designer to get some realistic movement. One of the hardest parts was getting the Maxx to skew over drunk bum. I tried ragdoll simulations, connectors, MoGraph, but in the end, good old-fashioned keyframes and a rig was the quickest solution. The characters were heavily stylized with brushstrokes and paint texture in Substance Painter. Details like tattoos and outlines were very roughly scribbled on, anything and everything I could do to make things look not perfect. I used toon shaders in Redshift to add some line work to the characters and environments, but kept bump maps, reflections and displacement maps at about 80%, so it didn't look too much like cell shading. The 2D effects played a big part in the illustrated comic book look. Impacts and big moments had hand-drawn graphics explode in the frame. I use Particular in After Effects to randomly place these so I'm not animating each graphic individually. At one point the scenery melts away to reveal a line drawing underneath. In another scene I use comic book frames to show close-ups of the Maxx jumping. The alleyway and clifftop scenes were kit bashed in Cinema 4D. I like to build in 3D so I can then place the camera wherever I want afterwards, similar to being live on set. My machine didn't quite keep up with the amount of polygons. The amount of trash in the alley and the insane detail on the rocks in particular kept crashing my machine. I had to buy a new GPU halfway through making this. I created custom procedural textures with alpha layers that I could put on any mesh to add graffiti, extra dirt and ink texture to make the buildings look more stylized. Here's the artwork on one of the materials. For the Outback, I put together a huge rock feature and simulated the grass, which was actually the hair function in Cinema 4D. Lighting is something I love to do. I use it to highlight the things I want the audience to see. Using strong silhouette, you can create an interesting arrangement of shapes, much like a comic book frame. I use coloured lighting in opposite shades again to draw attention to what I want you to see. Finally, with all the sets and animation in place, I work like a DOP and find interesting ways to capture the action, always making sure what the camera is doing makes sense. Handheld shots make it feel like you're there, forced perspective and wide angles make things feel exaggerated, and a long lens shot makes it feel like we're watching something interesting from far away. Okay, that's all I've got for you. I hope at least some of that was useful. Don't forget, if you like this film and you want to see more, subscribe to my YouTube channel and we can make it happen.